What's good, y'all? DJ E-Rock in the building, broadcasting live from Culture Kings, Las Vegas. This is the full convo. And man, speaking of full convos, this is a convo that I feel like that I never knew I needed to have, really, you know. And you know, we have a surprise guest in here today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Gerome Sapp. I'm the founder and CEO of Rarest, which is the world's first true stock market for collectible sneakers. When I say true because we're regulated by the SEC, the same governing body that regulates the stock market.
What?
Regulates our platform.
Really?
Exactly, yep.
That
Yeah.
You know, I know we talked about this off camera. That is the most, I'm so mind blown.
Yep.
On how this whole entire thing works. Like, you know, tell me, like, you know, exactly how Rares works.
That's a good question. So how Rares works. So first of all, we're an alternative asset investment platform.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say alternative asset, that means stuff that's not on the stock market. Another example of an alternative asset investment would be real estate or any other commodity. So we figured out how to make sneakers, a commodity, an alternative asset investment. So how does it work? We find a sneaker that we feel our staff of sneaker experts that are authorities in the sneaker industry. We got people from StockX, we got people from GOAT that can value sneakers, that can appraise sneakers, authenticate sneakers. We'll take a sneaker and we think it'll appreciate, so we take it to the SEC and say, hey, we want to offer up an investment series in this sneaker and allow individuals the ability to make real investments in this sneaker with the hopes that this sneaker will appreciate in value. So we allow them to make an investment in the sneaker just like any other investment in any other company on the stock market. And then you hope that that sneaker appreciates in value. And hopefully if it appreciates in value, so does the value of the shares you own in the sneaker, and you make money, hopefully. So we literally created a stock market around the sneaker industry. As we're talking offline, the whole adage of one to cop and you know, one to rock, one to cop, we took that to a new level, basically.
Like, so, literally, it's one to cop and one to stock. And like, you're really making that one to stock.
In the literal stock terms. Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
That is so mind blowing, though. I mean, obviously, I'm an avid sneaker collector.
Yep.
You know, I've been you know, literally diving through, like, you know, I mean, you name it, man. Whatever it is, I'm always trying to cop.
Sure.
Always trying to cop. But I always like run into these situations at home where like I'm walking in from the garage, and I got a bag of sneakers.
Yeah.
Oh, you bought again?
Yeah.
Oh, really? This and that. Like, yo, like.
Yeah.
But see, what's amazing about this is like now this is giving me life now in that conversation where it's like, yo, this is actually an investment.
Absolutely.
This is something that I could potentially, like, you know, securitize.
Exactly. So one thing I want to make clear, like, we're not telling people, because I got a sneaker habit too.
Yeah. Before
I leave this store, I'm going to buy me some sneakers. So this is not to tell people don't go buy sneakers, because a lot of people are like, well, why would I invest in it and not buy it? It's like, no, keep buying sneakers. But this is like any other investment that you make. You diversify your investment portfolio into maybe gold, maybe silver, maybe some other commodity, maybe real estate. We just created a way for sneakers to be a new thing that you diversify your investment portfolio into.
That's incredible. I love
sneakers
this.
have outperformed, speaking of gold, they've outperformed gold. They've outperformed the S&P 500 in terms of rates of return consistently over the past 5 years. Just no one's.
But that's not like every sneaker, though.
Collectible sneakers.
Yeah, collectible sneakers.
And when we say
grails.
collectible sneaker, we're talking about grails.
Mm-hmm.
So grails, let's be specific, have outperformed gold and the S&P and other traditional securities consistently over the past decade.
Yeah.
So the problem is no one's created an investment vehicle around them until Rares. So we view this as your first step into making an investment. Because for the majority of the time, people who invest on our platform have never made a real investment in their life. So we're like, you know what? Why not teach them about investing while giving them the ability to invest in something that they're familiar with?
Something they love.
Something they love, something they're passionate about. Sneakers. And it's just like artwork. You know, you can invest in artwork through Sotheby's, through Christie's. Now you can invest in your passion, i.e. sneakers, through Rares.
That's beautiful right there.
And also,
that's
sneakers,
beautiful.
You can buy shares in these sneakers for as little as $1. And
really?
And you know, basically, if you can be the Warren Buffett of the sneaker industry But where do you use that knowledge to make money? It's hard, right? On our platform, if you know about sneakers and have an eye for sneakers, you can use that knowledge to potentially make money off your investments. And like I said, like for a lot of people, this is their first time making an actual real investment in something, a real SEC certified investment. So why not let it be in something that you, as you mentioned, have a passion for?
That's beautiful right there. I mean, and this is something that I never knew was even possible. Like, what's the process like, to get a grail?
Yep.
Let's be clear with that, because not all sneakers can possibly outperform.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff out there, but like,
Absolutely.
these collectible sneakers, what's the process of getting a very collectible grail securitized?
It's a good question. So we operate under the framework of Regulation A of the Jobs Act, which allows accredited and non-accredited investors to make crowd-funded investments. We flip that around and say, you know what? We can use that in the sense to raise money around investing in sneakers. So to answer your question, we operate under Regulation A of the Jobs Act. We find a sneaker, a grail, and when we're talking about grails, we're talking about 85 Jordan 1s.
Which go for like what's the
on
number
average
on that?
from 15,000 to 40,000.
Okay.
Depending on the condition, depending on the size. And our collection of 1985 Air Jordan 1s are probably one of the best in the world. We have about 30 pairs of them that are still in the box, still
30
brand new. Yep.
pairs?
30 pairs. We have B-grade samples too, which are even more rare too. So we're talking about grails like that. We have an original 1985 Air Force One dead stock, still in the box. 1982, which is the first
Where
year.
do you find all these?
Man, sneaker collectors. From my past as we'll get into a professional athlete, I've always made a point. Every city I go to, I try to connect with sneaker collectors. And I flipped out, parlayed those relationships now into my business life now after my career. So yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
This is I'm just like, completely like, wow. So, all right. So, you take a sneaker and then you take it to where, and then it gets pretty much split up in shares. Like,
yep. So when we say take it, we don't physically take it to the SEC, but we have attorneys that deal with all that to actually what they call securitize. They split the shoe into thousands of virtual shares. Then at that point, we offer IPOs, which stands for initial public offering. There's IPOs on the stock market when a stock goes public. We do the same thing on our platform, rarest.io, when we want to take a sneaker public. And what that means is now you're able to actually purchase shares or make investments in the shares that are outstanding. So for example, we split a shoe into 30,000 shares, and we allow you now to buy shares from that shoe for as little as $1. Now you are a shareholder in that shoe. So hopefully what you're hoping for is the shoe appreciates in value. So if you invested in that shoe for $10 a share, you're hoping that it appreciates to $15 a share. And then we go to liquidate the shoe at some point, and hopefully you make delta off that, or you make your money off that. That's the point of investing in the stock market, and that's the same point of investing in our sneakers on the Rarest platform. So we only deal with sneakers that we believe that have historically appreciated.
And you have a panel, just like you said, of people that literally will be able to forecast that.
Absolutely.
What are some of the? I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what are some of the factors that go into a sneaker appreciating in value like that?
Man, that's a good question, and I get that a lot. And the biggest thing is scarcity, right? When you have scarcity in any marketplace, take real estate, right? If you have a little bit of real estate available and a lot of demand for it, the price of that home or the price of that property or the price of those properties will skyrocket in value because scarcity. The same thing with any other commodity, but the same thing holds for sneakers.
Yeah.
If Nike or Adidas or Puma or whatever brand you're talking about has produced a small amount of this sneaker and there's a lot of demand for it, the value of that sneaker will increase. So the type of sneakers we're dealing with, for the most part, those shoe brands don't make anymore. We can't go back to 1978, the Converse that Dr. J wore in the slam dunk contest that he autographed. They're not making that no more. So we have that.
Do you actually have that?
We have that sneaker, and you can invest in it. So that's one thing, scarcity.
Yeah.
Also, popularity around that particular person that's affiliated with it. For For example, The Last Dance. When The Last Dance came out during the pandemic, values of Jordans, especially 1985 Air Jordan, skyrocketed because of the positive attention that was around. Obviously, Michael Jordan is the GOAT, right?
Absolutely.
And you know, things you don't like to see is when a particular athlete or someone affiliated with a sneaker passes away, like Kobe Bryant. Then obviously there's never going to be another shoe that Kobe, being alive, has endorsed. So all the shoes previous to him passing will have a positive effect in terms of appreciation for the most part. So there's a lot of factors that go into what makes a sneaker appreciate. The biggest thing is scarcity, though. I think you can pinpoint scarcity to every shoe going up in value. I mean, even when StockX or GOAT drops a sneaker, obviously if there's a limited supply and a lot of demand, what happens to that value? It starts to go up. So, and those are things we look for too. We look for example, the Air Jordan 4 Undefeated. We have a sample of that.
A sample of that?
A sample of that. That shoe was 40 to 60 grand, right? Because they never mass produced that.
Did you have the Eminem 4s too? And
we had the Eminem Carhartt 4s.
Oh my!
We have a sample of that one too. Now, so it's scarcity. They're not making that shoe again, especially the sample versions of them. So, you know, and that's a point. If you're a sneakerhead and you're going out and you're trying to start a sneaker business, the best thing you can look for is scarcity around that particular sneaker to try to make a living off of it, flipping it.
No, or collection. If you're a collector, like if you want your collection, like to attain value.
Yep.
You want to definitely dive into some of the more scarce products, right?
Absolutely.
What would you say is the most rare, sneaker that you have securitized right now through your platform at Rares?
That's a great question. We have several, but the one that's valued the highest actually is the 2008 Yeezy 1 prototype. So we're not.
That's yours.
That's ours. So it's a Nike Yeezy 1 prototype.
This is the all black one.
This is an all black one.
It got all the press,
exactly,
all around the world.
Yep. It was valued by Sotheby's at $1.8 million. We actually own that sneaker. We fractionalized it. We split it up into 72,000 virtual shares and allowed individuals to invest in that shoe for $25 a share in order to own a piece of sneaker history. Because whatever you feel about Kanye West, right? Let's put that aside. That particular sneaker,
game changing,
helped set the market. Next to the Air Jordan 1, that particular sneaker was the next catalyst of the new age of the sneaker industry.
True.
And it was the first collab Nike ever did with a non-athlete. Now it's commonplace, right? Travis Scott, other, they collab with a lot of different skateboarders and stuff, and that's dope. But Kanye West was the first non-athlete that Nike ever collabed with. And they did it in Innovation Kitchen, which is the secret part of Nike in Oregon. And there's a lot of other things around that sneaker, but that is the most valuable shoe in the world right now. And yep.
That is yours.
That is ours.
That is through the platform.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So if someone wanted to buy that sneaker,
yep,
particularly, they would have to buy whatever it is valued at. Correct.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. So So the entering or when it entered, the securities game, what was it?
It was valued at $1.8 million.
So where is it now?
So it's probably
it's been some time.
It's been some time.
Yeah.
We're thinking it's seeping up close to 1.92 million. Obviously.
So if someone wanted to go on the platform and buy it outright to put it in their house or even
they could do that. They could do that. It's actually,
but they would have to pay what?
It's close to 1.92. It's actually at Christie's right now.
Wow.
And actually we're, Kanye West though, he went through a lot, and he said a lot and he did a lot of things that we don't agree with. And, things like that could affect the value of it.
Absolutely.
But the foundation of that sneaker will never change in terms of its value and its importance to the history of the sneaker game though. Yeah.
For sure. Speaking of history, let's talk about your history.
Yep.
You are a former athlete, played in the NFL for 6 years, I believe.
Yep.
What are some of the teams that you played for?
Played the Ravens drafted me. Played on a few of those amazing defenses. Played with Ed Reed. Played with Ray Lewis, Jamal Lewis. Played with Steve McNair. Played with some amazing leaders. Also played for the Colts too.
Okay.
I was a captain with Peyton Manning too. So
wow.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the game, from those guys, and I was blessed to be able to play with those guys. Yeah.
So I remember you saying earlier in the conversation that any city that you would go to, you would always make a valiant effort to connect with other fellow
Collectors,
sneaker
yeah. Yep.
collectors. I mean,
Yep.
what fueled that at the time? I mean, was rares like already in your head at that time, or was it just for the love of the culture?
Both.
Okay.
Both. So, I went to undergrad at University of Notre Dame where I studied finance. Also worked at Merrill Lynch in the off seasons of my college career because I knew I wanted to do something in finance. But as we talked about offline, my passion for finance came about from my father. My father was a dope boy. Though he never taught me about that life, I would go visit him in prison. My mom raised myself, my brother, and my sister. And on those prison visits, he'd talk about econ and economics, micro and macro. So his way of giving back while he was in the penitentiary. Mm-hmm. So I learned about assets and bids and asks when I was 7 or 8 years old. He was putting finance in my mind.
God bless him.
And because of that, though I didn't have him at home, he was educating me while he was in prison in the best way that he could. So that's what made me want to study finance at Notre Dame. Then when I got drafted, I got my MBA at Harvard Business School in the off season. I've always been.
So you would play a full season of football.
Yep.
And that's a rigorous task.
Yep.
And I don't think if anybody watching this, especially a lot of the backseat football players that are out there, the people that never played a down in their life,
yep, that
have all this to say, playing football, and I have a lot of people that friends with that are pro athletes today. It's one of the hardest things in the world to go pro and stay pro. So you would literally go through that whole routine.
Yep.
And then go to school.
During
your off season.
It was a 2-year program. Wow. And while my boys were frolicking around the world, which hey, more power to them, I was in Cambridge, learning finance and derivatives and entrepreneurial studies in a program at Harvard, which was one of the best things I could have ever done for my personal brand and my mind. Mm-hmm. But that's where the genesis of Rares first came about. Walking to class, someone stepped on my Concord 11s. It was an accident. And I remember wiping them off in class thinking, man, there's got to be a better way to preserve value around my sneakers. Because I had a passion for sneakers. And I was like, man, what if you can turn these sneakers into an investment and create a market around it and allow people to invest in them like they would any other asset? I mean, in class, I would be debating my professors that sneakers would be the next big asset class that people can invest in. And no one really, of course, they had no point of perspective, so they didn't agree with me.
There's still a lot of people that think that.
Still a lot of people.
I have people in my household that literally get on me like, oh, come on.
Yep.
And I always say this, like I said, running joke in my house is that, hey, if something ever happens to me, there's a lot of money sitting in I won't say where they're at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But hey.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's an investment.
Yeah.
It's a security,
Well, that whole mindset of people thinking sneakers are a liability and a financial liability, to your point, you just flipped it. No, actually, it's an asset here. And if you flip them right, it's a big asset. Mm-hmm. So, Forbes even said a year ago, sneakers are one of the fastest growing emerging new asset classes, which was a sense of validation for me and my company. But basically, that's where the genesis of Rares came about at Harvard Business School. Obviously, at that point, there was no rules, laws, or regulation to do what I'm doing now, so I had to sit on it. Retired. And about 3 years ago, I started this. And the crazy thing, man, I was told no from investors 87 times. But I
87.
knew 87 times. I kept a tally in my notes section in my phone. And I knew that I was just talking to the wrong people. And if I talked to the right people, they'd get it. And eventually I did. And here we go. Here we are.
Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy. 87 no's.
87 no's.
87
no's. But, it's crazy.
And on the 88th time.
As an athlete, you're used to being told no, and you're used to people telling you something's not good enough. When you're an athlete, typically it's you.
It's the same thing as an entertainer.
Same thing.
And
you got to develop tough skin around it and not take it personal. So all those no's, I learned something constructive from each no that I needed to do different the next time. And, ideally it wouldn't have taken 87 times. But the key was I didn't take those no's personal. And I still don't take no's personal. I just use it as an opportunity to refine what I'm doing and come back at you a different way.
And get better?
And get better at it. And that was
it's not a loss.
It's not a loss, man.
At all.
It's a lesson. So that's what it was. So, at this point, Warner Music is invested in us, and probably 30 other of the biggest VCs in the world invested in the company.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a beautiful story. So, for somebody that's watching this right now that's super inspired and that wants to invest into, owning a piece of sneaker history, whether it's an 85 Jordan or a piece of the Yeezy 1, like where do they go right now?
They can go to rarest.io.
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 Okay.
And the cool thing about it, as we talked about offline, I grew up in the 5th Ward of Houston, Texas, the hood.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up with financial literacy. I didn't grow up. Luckily, my mother was a strong single mother. Luckily, my father, even though he was in the predicament he was in, he still had the whereabouts to make the most of it and teach my brother and I as much as he could. But fintech and financial literacy is big with me. Like, if I didn't educate myself, I couldn't have gone to the places I've gotten to now professionally. So the big thing is we want to educate people on investments and alternative asset investments, and use this platform as a catalyst to bigger, more complex investments like derivatives and things like that. So
like
when
you can start with a shoe.
It starts with a shoe,
And
something
then
you're familiar with.
But the fundamentals and the mechanics are still the same. To
Absolutely.
where maybe I'll invest into these IPOs, and maybe I'll do this stock, or maybe I'll get into real estate.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. And as I mentioned, for the most part, these first of all, they're real investments, and for most people coming to our platform, this is the first time they've ever made a real investment in their life. So we want to make that experience positive. So we not only educate you on the shoe, why is this shoe valuable? Why do we think it's worthy of investment grade? What do our experts think about it? But we also allow you to trade it. Once the IPO closes, it goes to secondary trading, and when you can trade shares like you would in any other traditional market. So the biggest thing for us, and for me personally, is financial literacy, because without financial literacy, I wouldn't be where I am today. And it means a lot to me to be able to give that back to the community that I grew up in, and the expanded community. Rares is not just for the underprivileged and underserved community. Obviously, I mean, we have people from all type of educational backgrounds and investment knowledge backgrounds that invest in rares, because like I said, at the end of the day, it's an alternative asset investment. So it's just diversifying your investment portfolio into sneakers. It just so happens to be sneakers is of the culture. And, we want to make sure that the people who made the sneaker culture what it is now can have a chance to come back and reap the benefits of the secondary appreciation of these sneakers, because they've never been able to do it before, and now they can.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Like I said, this is the conversation that I never knew I needed to have.
Yeah.
And I commend you for all that you do
Appreciate
for
it,
the
man.
culture and
Same
preserving it.
And
this is one of the most fascinating conversations I have had on my radio show ever. And plus, at the same time, being like you said, being able to give back and give this knowledge, back to the people in your community that you grew up in, and even the expanded community. I mean, I think that's important because, we're in a crazy time right now, and I feel like there's a lot of information out there, but this information needs to be at the forefront.
Absolutely.
There's a big, it's bigger than what we're just doing right now.
Absolutely.
So, again, if someone wants to literally find out more about rares and how they can get involved in everything, where do they go?
If people want to find out about rares or make their first investment just to try it out, go to rares, RARES.io, and check it out. Or if you're in Las Vegas and you stop at Culture Kings, you can stop in the store and actually make investments on the spot in some of our sneakers that are actually displayed at Culture Kings, at the Forum Shops and Caesars. We have a whole Jordan pack, 1985 Air Jordan 1 pack that's here. We have the OVO samples too. That's some of the most limited edition shoes in the world.
And those are all on display here at Culture
Those
Kings,
are all
correct?
on display here at Culture King. We also have a few player samples of Kobe Bryant's that have never been mass produced.
PEs.
PEs. One is actually a production sample.
Like out there right now.
Out there.
Like after we're done here, I can go see them
check
right
it
now.
out. Yep.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of places you can find us, but the first place and the best place is rarest.io. Yep. That's
what's up. Jerome, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Again, like I said, I can't say it more than enough. The conversation I never knew I needed to have. And I'm sure this is a podcast and an interview that people didn't know they needed it to see.
Well, I hope so, man.
No. I know so. Trust me. I feel very good. I talked to a lot of people in the studio, especially as of late, but this was one of the most mind-blowing conversations, and I can't wait to learn more. Right when we get out of here, man. So
appreciate it, man.
All right, that's right.
Yeah.
You know what it is? The full convo. DJ E-Rock in the building. We are broadcasting live from Culture Kings, Las Vegas. Thank you again, Jerome from Rares.
Appreciate it.